Hi, welcome to Elementary and Intermediate Algebra, Chapter 4.1. In this chapter, we'll be going over commutative, associative, and distributive properties. We will also learn how to simplify expressions and how to subtract expressions. So notice how if you add 5 plus 7 in either order, 5 plus 7 or 7 plus 5, you always get 12. And also notice how if you multiply 5 and 7 in either order, you always get 35. So if you multiply 5 times 7 or 7 times 5, you'll always get 35. This applies for any two numbers for addition and multiplication. This property is known as the commutative property of addition and multiplication. This property states that for any two numbers a and b, a plus b is equal to b plus a, and a times b is equal to b times a. So we're going to be going over a definition called a term, and a term is a constant, a variable, an exponent, or a constant multiplied by a variable. So 5 is a term and it's a constant. X is a variable and it's also a term. X squared is an exponent and it's also another version of a term. And 5 times x is a constant multiplied by a variable, and it's also a different type of term. The commutative property also applies for terms being added together. For example, 2x plus 5 is equal to 5 plus 2x. And the commutative property also applies for terms being multiplied together. So 2x times 5 is equal to 5 times 2x. The associative property states that for addition and multiplication, it doesn't matter which order you add or multiply the terms. This applies only for addition and multiplication. For example, the sum of a plus b added to c is equal to a plus the sum of b plus c. And the product of a and b times c is equal to a times the product of b and c. So these are all equal. It doesn't actually matter which order you add or multiply the terms. We can often rearrange terms to make addition or multiplication easier. So let's take this complicated expression, 6 minus 5x plus 2 minus 8. We can't try to evaluate this because according to the order of operations, we have to add from left to right first, which means we have to add 6 to negative 5 times x, which is impossible. However, we can rearrange the terms so that we add 6 to constants, which is possible. So we can turn 6 minus 5x plus 2 minus 8 into 6 plus negative 5x plus 2 minus 8. The same thing essentially. And then we use the commutative property to turn it into negative 5 plus 6 plus 2 minus 8. We can then use the associative property to group the constants together. Negative 5x plus 6 plus 2 minus 8. And we can evaluate the expression in the parentheses, which turns into negative 5x plus 0, or just negative 5x. The distributive property states that a number multiplied by an expression in a parentheses is equal to that number multiplied by each term in the parentheses. So a times the product of sum of b plus c is equal to a times b plus a times c. And we can use all of these properties to turn complicated expressions into simpler ones. So this expands on rearranging terms. So let's simplify this expression. 10 times the difference of 2x and 8 plus 12. So the first step we can do is use the distributive property. So we take 10 and multiply it by each term. So it becomes 10 times 2x minus 10 times 8 plus 12. Okay, so now we have 20x minus 80 plus 12. Now if we use the associative property, we can group these two terms together as in 20x plus negative 80 plus 12. Now we can add this term right here. So now we have the expression is now equal to 20x plus negative 68, or just 20x minus 68. So notice how we first use the distributive property to break up this parentheses, and then we just use the associative property to to group the two constants together, negative 80 and 12, and then add them to try to simplify it. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something from this video.